Okay, so welcome everyone to OBF Academy today. We have Claire Giot from the Dôme organization, which is from France, and she will present how they are using open batches to engage local population to participate in research and innovation. And if you have any questions that come up during this presentation, you can write them to the chat, and we will then go through them together at the end of the webinar, and Claire will surely answer them. So without further ado, Claire, you're welcome to start.
Okay, I'm gonna start. So I'm going to tell you about how the Regional Center for Scientific Culture uses Open Badge. So it's the Dôme. And first I'll tell you about the Dôme because the way we are using Open Badge is linked to our identity and to our activities. So I'm sorry, I can't move. That's okay. So the Dôme is a third place. It's a place where people, researchers, entrepreneurs, associations, and communities come to discover, create, participate. The people we have here are users, public, people from education, researcher, people from business, creative and artistic communities, local authorities, and all these persons gather and come to participate to cultural, educative, responsible research and innovation projects. So our activities in detail are around, we have a living lab. It's a place with a cycle of activities such as co-design, exploration, experimentation, and evaluation that are repeated during various stages of an innovation process. And we also have what we call a Fab Lab. It's a place for research into digital fabrication and computation. And so in these places, we are receiving publics and we are working on several projects. So why did we choose to use Open Badges? As I told you, we are receiving publics, and we wanted to improve the participation of visiting audience and make it evolve from discovery to co-creation and co-organization. People that come to the Dôme and publics, they first come to discover, to see what are our activities, but they also can contribute, they can be involved in our project, and they can start from visiting, discovering, to become contributors, to test, to come with us and generate ideas. So with Open Badges, we wanted to show this evolution and to show these possibilities. So we have several categories of badge. We have two main categories, skills and knowledge. So we have knowledge, interpersonal skills, know-how, technical and practical skills. And we also have engagement and participation. So in these badges, we have experience, project, path, like a training path, and community. And we have 5 levels of, so we have all these categories, 7 categories, and we have 5 recognition levels that start from discovery to co-governance. It was a level that was written up. So to show you our badges, so here are the badges, skills and knowledge. So we have 3 categories, and then here are our badges, engagement and participation. So they have different shapes, so we can recognize them. And all these badges have 5 levels, so you can start from discovering project, and you can go to co-governance, and so we have all these badges to recognize all these abilities, all these skills. So now I'm going to tell you about how we use Open Badges. So we first start from the idea that Open Badges offer many possibilities, and that we don't want to get stuck on certification. This map or trapeze diagram was made by François Millet, who is the head of Living Lab and the head of batch program, and it shows different possibilities, different uses you can do with open badges. So they can be, it's a free version, so I'm going to tell you a little about it. They can be used for animation functions, for empowerment or capacitation, to recognize participation, for structuration or organization. So they can be used like a structuring tool or like an evaluation tool. So I'm going to show you a few examples of what we are of these uses. First one is participation. So participation, it covers a pretty wide range of activities. It can be contribution and engagement. It can be discovery. It can be an involvement. For example, the first batch, Prix-Musée Berger, is a badge that recognizes the participation in scientific competition, even for non-winners, even for non-laureates, because it's very important to recognize the work people have done and the project they have brought here. The two other badges have been made for special events where publics or visitors come to discover. But we also wanted to recognize this participation as a first step. So another use of open badges we are doing at the Dôme is capacitation. It's like empowerment. So we could say integration, training, showing training path, empowerment, autonomy, and orientation. These badges, they can show, for example, a training path. So with different steps you have to do to do your goal, but they offer different possibilities. For example, these badges are quite interesting because they have been produced for a workshop that involve young people that come to discover the Fab Lab. And when they come, they use machines, they work together to do projects. And another thing that is interesting is that the badge communicate have been made by young people themselves. So, and it is given by peers. So they all participate in the activities. And after the activities, the young people themselves give badges with badges communications, which is an ability that was used during the workshop to their peers. So we, as an empowerment tools, it was quite interesting. Sorry. So structuration, I would say also organization. It's for project, resources, network, territory, ecosystem, roles. The idea with this badge is to show, is to use open badges for mapping available resources, roles, or supports. For example, we have badges for contributors, pilots, heads of project, or instructors, or animators in the same project. So the first, the blue one is for people that support the project, or the other one are for people that participate to animation, and the last one is for the head of the project. So with badges, we can show different roles, show different resources. So that's another way with badges. Then I'm going to tell you about animation, because badge can also be used to gather a community for communication, for gamification, and they also can be collected. Animation is also using badge for fun, because of like creating special or rare badges. like this. For example, this special badge, which is in 3D and that can be seen with 3D glasses. The idea is that we can badge for fun or not for serious reason all the time, but also to gather a community, to be collected, to have a very rare badge you can get. So it's another example of uses of open badges. I saw, is there a question? No, I saw something up. So what are our plans? So I show you different examples of uses we are doing of open badges. You can see that evaluation in the different possible uses of badges is lacking. It's something we are exploring and thinking about. We are considering how badges could be used to report on our activities and the different level of public participation. We would like to use badges to show us which kind of badges have been given, which are our activities. But for the moment, we are thinking of use this possibility. Something you were asking me was what are our needs with Open Badge Factory, and reports are something that would be useful for us. For the moment, for the evaluation use, for the moment, reports are not enough, maybe clear for us, or we can use them really to gather information. And maybe that's something we would like to work on. Another of our plan with open badges is the Dôme is also involved in a regional and European program. And the objective is to work on the uses of open badges for orientation and formation. It's a project funded by Europe and the Normandy region. And our goal in this project is to develop numeric tools that will ease use of open badges for orientation and formation. And so we are trying to develop numeric tools. And in order to do that, we have gathered an ecosystem with people from education, universities, training organization, enterprises, students. And with them, we are working and co-creating uses of open badges. We would like to prototype with them the functionality of these numeric tools and develop the functionalities that are needed to use open badges for orientation and formation. This work is focused on users, so on people that will be either creators or issuers or recipients or audience of open badges. So maybe within the framework of this project, we need to know the compatibility between platforms like Open Badge Creators, Open Badge Factories, and the tools we could develop. So that's another plan we are working on right now. And maybe I was quicker than the time that was scheduled, but I think it's okay for me. So if you have any questions, you can start.
Okay, thank you very much, Claire. So now, if you guys have questions, please write them to the chat or any comments as well. I can start off by asking you a very basic question. So now that you have been working with open badges for a while and you have great plans for the future as well, what would be your top 3 tips for someone starting with open badges?
I would say you have to think, it's not so, well, I would say it is hard to start with open badges, but you have to have a deep reflection of the kind of badges you want to create. You have to, it's a group reflection, I think. Maybe take time to, another advice would be to take time to do that. And the third tips, I don't know, don't maybe to stay stuck on one uses of badges. You can be free of imagination or to create the badges you want. Don't be afraid to create too much badges first. Maybe you will correct them, but you know, don't maybe not to stay focused or to feel free to imagine all the badges you want.
Yeah, so try not to think too hard and just go for it and start small and expand from there. Yeah, very true. We have a question here. So when people receive open batches, how can they value them? So how do you see this if you think about your batch earners?
The question is, how can badges be valued? That
Yeah.
It's a question that is very often asked in our workshop. Almost everyone is asking this question. I think badges don't come alone. They have to come with an ecosystem, an ecosystem of trust. And that's why when I was advising, it's a group creation. Maybe you, for value, I don't know if it's a good term, but I think the ecosystem is important, and the fact to gather different people around and all people that will be involved in this specific badges, like audience, recipients, to integrate them, it's important for value.
Yeah, the same here as Emily. Emily commented that co-creation with the batch earners is key. So that's very true. It's a very good idea to involve the batch earners in the batch creation process, for sure. Any other questions? I could ask that what kind of challenges you've faced with the whole open batches process so far, and how you've handled them, if you faced any.
What are the difficulties in creating badges?
Yeah, in general, any challenges, anything from maybe even from batch earners, what are their feedback on batches? How have they accepted them? Or
first, I would say from batch earners, it's something that seems very new, except for people that have heard of badges. So that's why we also do a big work of of information about badges, because it's really new. So the first step is to explain what are open badges and how it works. So it's the first difficulty. Then I would say the first thing is to make people get badged, even it's like a very simple badge like I know what are open badge. The first step is to make people create their passport and get their first badge. Another challenge is corresponds to the question you were asking first. It's the question of the values of badges. People that reserve badge, especially young people, they tell me, yes, but do enterprises, if I put it on my resume, do enterprises have heard of it? Is it important? Is it valuable? And so that's one of the challenges, and the answer is in the other questions. So we have to create an ecosystem, but it's another challenge, because the first difficulty is to explain what is an open badge, how it works, because it's not obvious the way open badge works, the way an online passport works. And then the other challenge is to make people trust open badges, trust the value of open badges, and to involve them.
Yes, very good. Okay, anyone else? Last chance to ask questions from Claire. If not, we thank you very much, Claire, for this interesting presentation, and hope to hear from you in the future as well. So how things progress from here, and yeah. Thank you everyone for joining. Next time we will have actually Emily Lanel, who is here as well, and Isabel Duchapelle. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correct, but they're from University of Caen, and they will also be telling how they use open batches. So that will happen next time, which is May 21st at 2 p.m. BST, so that's the same time as now. Thank you everyone for joining. The recording and the slides for this presentation can be found from our website tomorrow afternoon, so make sure to check that out. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.